And once again, right on time. Welcome to Minions of the Zoo. I am your host, Johnny Hellcat, and with me today is our minions. Our minions. There's two of us. Hey, Camel's with me.
Don't forget the headmates.
Well, I mean, that's true. So how you doing?
I am tired and pissed off. So I mean, it's a day ending and why? Really? Now I've been up since like 3 a.m. because on my days off, my schedule gets all wacky.
Yeah.
So, and I'll go ahead and say hello to the folks in chat. Travis says chonk, so hello, kitty. And then we got Tier and Terry in chat. What's up, dudes?
How's it going, guys?
And I sound like even more of a smoker right now because I had a coughing fit right before we started streaming. So.
And sliding in like Indiana Jones, we have Sanguine.
Good evening, all. How goes?
Not too bad. How's your day going?
My day goes fairly well. I had a decent first full day off without any OT or anything like that. Had a really good dinner of some chicken thighs that I marinated quickly in a garlic aioli and spaghetti that I put through a red pesto. Absolutely fantastic. Served that up with a pomegranate mead, which was a nice pairing for that. Added the right amount of sweetness, the right amount of acidity to it. Really balanced out the dish nicely. And then just been playing my normal Thursday tabletop game. Otherwise, how about you two?
I had pizza.
I had a cheeseburger.
I'd prefer the cheeseburger to the pizza.
It's National Pizza Day, saying, show some respect.
I can't really fucking eat pizza anymore because of my goddamn father. It has to be a really damn good pizza for me to be even passingly okay with it.
It's a goddamn holiday. You take your hat off and show some respect, son.
Now I can see, like, if I knew Sanguine's address, just sending him a Domino's, and then just one of those days I'd just have one of those delivered back to me, only when I open it up it would just be a gun.
Yep.
I imagine if you did that, you'd just be like Camel
dead fish.
For those who don't know, the reason why pizza's really pretty much a no-go in general for me is the reason why I learned how to cook was I was with my father at the time because both parents were Marines. This was the height of OIF. My mum was activated overseas. My father had just come off activation. So he was taking care of me. My grandma went back to where she lives. And in that interim, for a month fucking straight, it was Domino's pizza for dinner. Breakfast was cold Domino's pizza. Lunch was reheated Domino's pizza. Dinner, Domino's pizza. And it just was an endless cycle of nothing but Domino's fucking pizza. And the TTRPG that I'm playing currently is a slightly modified version of Werewolf the Apocalypse 20th, or sorry, 20 edition. Not 20 edition, it's just called 20, I think. Werewolf the Apocalypse 20.
But yeah, when someone told me that story the first one, I was like, you know what? Me and your dad would hit it off.
Yeah, and for me, it was enough that it damn near drove me crazy. So it reached a point where I just asked to be taken to a grocery store, be allowed to buy food, and I would handle everything else.
I mean,
and I was granted that, so I started cooking.
The only real qualm I would have is like Domino's. Really, like, could we spring for Papa John's or something? I mean,
Oh no, it was Domino's Pizza.
They go too heavy on the garlic on the crust, man. Like, that's a little bit's fine, but they're just too heavy-handed with it.
The thing was, it was Domino's Pizza. Couldn't order an item other than pizza from the menu, so it wasn't like I could get pizza some days, get chicken other days, get the cheesy bread and shit like that another day. No. Every day was a pizza, and most days were a single topping pizza.
Pepperoni for the win. Yeah. Let's go.
Fuck that.
I'm a man of simple taste, Sanguine.
This was damn near hell for me.
I mean, some pepperoni pizza and some Bud Light, and we got a party.
See, Tyrannus, I went for a Fianna. Because, hell yeah, Irish werewolves.
We had mentioned, and I think you had mentioned, honestly, about you were going to be setting up a D&D thing. But that was
never played D&D.
That was a good 2 and some years ago.
Oh, the D&D thing. Yeah,
between you and Quiz.
I was working on some stuff to see if I could come up with a game. I asked if anyone was interested. I got only a couple people that tossed their name into the hat, so it ended up kind of fading. And Inquisitor was running D&D games for us for the longest period of time. And it was fantastic. Loved the D&D with shitlords. But then the party ended up fracturing, unfortunately, which put an end to D&D with shitlords. Though I do hope at some point it is resurrected. But I do still have a couple things that I was working on for a D&D game. Just didn't get enough interest when I asked about it. Because I think I had like 2-3 people that tossed their hat in at the time.
So, Sanguine, have you seen any of the North Korean videos showing the intense training of the KPA soldiers?
I have not. This sounds like comedy gold. Please do tell.
Well, I got into a little bit of an argument before the stream with one of my mutuals, and they retweeted it or quote tweeted it and was talking about how even the North Koreans have better recruitment videos than we do. It's like, they don't need to recruit. That's just propaganda, sir.
Yeah.
Here, I'll drop the link in the side chat here.
A good recruitment video should be a fair bit of propaganda. And their recruitment has gone to hell.
Their recruitment is, get on the truck, or we're going to shoot you in the face and put 3 generations of your family in the camps.
Oh, yeah.
They don't need to recruit. Hey, we have food. Get on the truck.
I'm not saying that they really need to, but I can very easily imagine, and thus far even, as ridiculous as this is, it is doing a better job than...
It's a Rocky IV montage.
It is. It is absolutely a Rocky IV montage. Which, are you honestly telling me that a Rocky IV montage isn't better than our current recruitment shit?
Well,
are you honestly going to tell me that?
No, I'm not going to tell you that thing. I'm not going to tell you that because A, it's not true, and B, the same thing I told this other guy, it's a really fucking low bar that they're crossing. All right? So, some chick who presses a button to fire a missile talking about her 2 gay moms and her, time in the sorority, it's a really low bar.
Yep.
That's not a threshold that, you really have to, even hop across.
Oh, yeah. And that's the
So-
problem that I have with it, because we used to have amazing recruitment videos. Some of my favorite recruitment videos are the old school Marine recruitments.
Oh yeah, slaying the dragon and all that good shit. Yeah, I
Yeah.
got you. You know, army
Fucking
of one.
running through the goddamn labyrinth, forging a sword in the middle, and then holding it up, becoming a Marine, slaying a dragon. Fuck yeah. If that doesn't make you want to join in as a red-blooded man, doesn't get you a raging fucking erection, I think you might be impotent. Because just goddamn, the old recruitment videos were amazing. The problem
Yeah.
is
Yeah,
our
they
current
were-
recruitment videos are absolute horseshit.
No, I prefer the other one, Terry's. Just join the army. You know, travel the world, meet new and interesting people, and kill them.
That was normally the Marines that used that one.
Well, I had an uncle that was in the army in. I think it was like shortly after Vietnam, and they did use that too. So
Yeah. It was something that the branches would joke about for a good while early on, and then it became primarily Spec Ops, and the Marines kept on using that line.
Well,
Most
yeah,
of the
I
other
mean-
branches went for or for other things like Army of One, which is one of the worst fucking slogans ever.
Well, actually, you know, the one that's worse than that was the in the army, we do more before 9 a.m. than most people do all day. It's like, yeah, well, I'm a night person. Go fuck yourself.
Oh, see, I thought you were going to say one of the worst ones was the Army Hua, because that was one of their things for a while. They still do Hua
And the
inside
Rangers.
the army, but
I
their
see. I didn't
recruitment
know that was an
material
army
was-
thing. I thought that was just a Ranger thing.
Nope, it is Army does Hua.
Navy does
Which-
Huya.
Yeah, Navy does Huya, I think. The Marines have the
Hoorah.
best version of Ura,
Yeah.
which that sounds a fuck ton better than Hua or Huya.
Well, Hua, as far as I'm aware, again, you know, didn't serve, so I get all my shit secondhand. I could be wrong. Don't quote me. But as far as I understand, that was originally an acronym for like heard, understood, acknowledged. So, and again, with Hua and Huya, those were like Rangers and SEALs, respectively, and then they branched it out into the rest of the service.
Yep.
Whereas Ura, that was just Marine. Period.
Yeah, that was just Marine period, and it was Marine period with a fuck yeah intonation. Because the problem with the Army and the Air Force version is you get rather anemic Huas and Huyas. Whereas when it's Marines, it's Ura. It is always that fuck yeah, let's goddamn go.
Well, I mean, as far as I am aware, the Marines have always had the highest esprit de corps. So,
Oh yeah. The Marines are not so much a military organization as they are a group of martial monks.
oh, there's Assassin. His ears must have been burning.
No, they don't use hoorah. They use oorah. Hooya is fucking army shit.
But am I incorrect about that though, Assassin? That was primarily like a Rangers thing, and it filtered down to the rest of, or to the big army. Monks? What?
Martial monks, not
Oh.
standard fucking
Well,
cloistered
it
monk.
confuses me when he tags like just the minions account. It's
Yep.
like I don't remember Johnny saying anything about monks.
He yells at me all the time with this stuff.
Oh, yeah, me too. But he'll actually tag me specifically when he's want to chew my ear off.
Yes, Huya or Hua is Army, Huya is Navy, and then it's
And nobody cares about the chair force. So
is Marine Corps. And yes, warrior monks, the martial monks, which they were the dirty bastards that would get into fights. And if you read the history, they weren't so much into the, oh yeah, we take a vow of celibacy. If you're looking at the child of a monk, it was probably a warrior monk.
see, had anybody else noticed like they changed like the color of the boxes when it would highlight, like when somebody would drop the @ for a while there, I was getting like just a gray box. I was like, okay, that's not catching my eyes as well as the orange, but whatever.
I think I've been seeing orange for ages.
Maybe it was just on mobile. I don't know.
Dilla's been mentioning this too. He actually saw that with his.
Della was getting just random colors. So.
Well, he sent me the image. Let me see if I can pull that up again.
Maybe it was just when I was on mobile, because I haven't been like in front of the desktop here much lately. But yeah, I've been. Sanguine, the medical odyssey continues.
Okay.
I've driven over 500 miles in the past month, and pretty much I'm just gonna have to just suck it up and live with this for
Just to make sure. Yep, they're saying that it's still buffering. But just to be on the safe side. Yep, I reloaded and... Okay, it just snapped to. Let's see.
Well, see, now my chat is blank. So I couldn't tell, even if we aren't buffering anymore.
And I am now getting back to date, so it seems like we are live again.
All right.
Okay. Oh, there. So that says video back. Okay.
Yep.
But yeah, so they take all the measurements and readings and whatnot, and I'm still fat. But then he goes through the whole questions, again, and at this point, here's a new one. They asked me, like, do I have any animals in the house? It's like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, how many? I was like, then I said I start like counting.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of animals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's like, and they live in the house. I was like, yeah, they do. So, but then he asked the question that I noticed that they started asking since the unknown virus of unspecified origin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you have any suicidal thoughts? I was like, why do you guys keep asking me that? Well, we have to ask. It's like, since when?
I do not have any information on the Clintons. I don't even know the Clintons.
Well, I mean, like, I wanted to get this over with, so I didn't sit there and press it, but I wanted to ask, like, is anybody dumb enough to actually say yes?
Yes, quite often.
And what would you do if somebody were to say yes?
I can actually answer this to a certain extent.
I mean, you got to remember though, this is also a tribal hospital, so like, not all the same rules necessarily apply. So, or there may be extra layers because it's federal bureaucracy.
Yep. But yeah, the way that it normally works is they have a couple different
32-hour
options.
hold.
So they can do the just give you the information on who to go see, give you a referral.
Mm-hmm. More than likely, that's what they would do.
Yeah, that's their general go-to. If it's something that they're looking at as, oh shit, this is really fucking serious, then there tends to be the 48, or the 24, 48, and 72. So those are three options that they have. A 24 is if they think that it's a short-term serious issue, they can begin the paperwork for a 24-hour hold, which is they call the appropriate authorities, and those appropriate authorities come pick you up. They take you to a psych facility, and you have to stay in the psych facility for 24 hours. 48, same thing, only bump out the time. 72, same thing, now it's 3 days.
Yeah, well, I mean, they'd have a problem trying to actually commit me.
Oh yeah, it takes a fuck ton of information in order to actually get a 24, 48, and 72 if it's done properly.
Well, no, I mean, just the simple fact of I don't go anywhere without being armed.
Yeah, but unless
good
you're
luck.
planning on having the shootout, they'll take you.
Well, if I'm suicidal, I mean, all bets are off, aren't they?
To a certain degree, but you'd be surprised how many people are suicidal, but then they'll relent to that.
Here we go. Okay.
Because I've transported a fuck ton of 72-hour holds.
But yeah,
Metric
so I
fuck
just
ton.
looked and was like, no, I'm not suicidal. I mean, it really depends on which one of the tribal police shows up here, because I know a few of them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I went to high school with one of them, and you know, I think like his brother is also tribal police. So I'm just like, oh, what's up, guys? How's it going? Don't shoot me, I won't shoot you. You know, that kind of thing. But no, I was just looking like, no, I'm not suicidal. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking like, until I have to come deal with you people.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, he gets me, you know, into the exam room, sitting there, and up to this point, like every time I sit my ass in a chair, it's not 2 minutes before they're calling me back to, you know, do X, Y, or Z. And normally, because, you know, tribal government, bureaucracy, and bullshit, they're usually running late. So I always make sure that either I have like you know, my phone charged up and, you know, can sit there and scroll Twitter or listen to YouTube, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I did that on the drive down. So I also make sure I have a book, you know, as a backup.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the library was closed the previous couple days, you know, due to issues. So I didn't manage
The
to
way
get
that you said issues makes it sound like there's an entire fucking story there.
No, just lack of water pressure.
Ah.
Yes, nothing sexy. You know, just you know, you couldn't, you know, put the poo in the loo. So, so yeah, because the library was closed, I was unable to get the next book in the series that I've been reading on. So, I've been cleaning out Nana Camel's house, my house, and I found like 5 different Bibles.
Okay.
Yeah, a couple of King James, one that's just the New Testament, one that's just the teachings of Jesus Christ. You know, and so I got like one of the pocket Bibles, pretty much, and I've been started reading it because bored.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're sitting in public reading the Bible, people think, "Oh wow, he must be very pious." No, I'm just bored out of my tits.
Mm-hmm.
So, as soon as I sit my ass down, crack open, the good book, they're calling me back to do the hearing test. They're calling me back to do the measurements and everything. And so I get in the exam room. It's like, the doctor will be with you in a minute. It's like, all right, well, the way this day's been going, I'm not even going to bother getting the book out. I'll just sit here. He'll be here in a minute or two. So I'm waiting. And I'm waiting. And I'm waiting a little more. And by this point, I've already been, like I said, worked a full shift, drove over an hour to get there. So I'm kind of slumping in the chair, chins on my chest, arms are crossed, trying not to doze off. And then the doc finally walks in. And I guess, from my body language and my resting bitch face, he didn't think I was all that happy to see him, which I really wasn't,
Mm-hmm.
Like, how are you today? It's like, I'm here, Doc. I'm here. Yeah.
So
and he didn't appreciate my attitude. I'm like, well, I don't appreciate, having to drive 500 miles over the course of a month, 3 different locations, multiple trips, just be, getting fucked around.
Mm-hmm.
So we hit it off swimmingly. And he's like, well, I read your chart. I was like, well, that's a first. Somebody actually did their homework. Okay, maybe this will work out. And he starts going through the list. It's like, okay, yeah, you did actually read it. Like, well, I saw that they put you on some antibiotics and some steroids, and I was like, and meclizine. He's like, yeah, saw that too. And none of that seems to be working, huh? It's like, I'm sitting here, aren't I? And he's like, well, you haven't seen an ENT yet. I was like, all right, well, fix this shit. Let's go. And so he's, looking up my nose and looking down my throat, and he finally looks at my ears.
Mm-hmm.
Feeling my throat, having me, swallow, see if there's anything going. I was like, all right, I appreciate you being thorough, but can we, can we focus on the shit that's actually going wrong?
Mm-hmm.
And he gave me the same diagnosis that the first guy did over a month ago. Benign proximal positional vertigo. Like, all right. It's like, so have you been in a car accident? No. Yeah. Play any sports? Have any kind of head trauma? No. Like, huh. Well, I mean, those are usually the 2 main causes of this thing. It's like, well, are there any other ones? Like this just fucking happened.
Yeah.
And
this is getting fucking interesting. So
so was that it, or do you have something else to say? Because I'm open to any suggestions here, Sanguine.
that's just getting fucking interesting. So their questions were head injury and fucking what was it again?
Car accident was the first one.
A car accident and head
Or
injury.
like sports-related head trauma. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, no.
Are they thinking that you have fucking
He's wondering if I had like a TBI, if I had my bell run or anything.
That's what I was about to say. If he's wondering if you have,
or maybe he just thinks like, hey, you're kind of an asshole. Has anyone ever like tried to knock you out before?
shit ton of micro concussions.
Which, I mean, that's a valid question considering, like, I was, like, dude, I've been answering the same fucking questions multiple times over the past month. Like, I'm tired, I'm hungry, and I want this fucking shit to end. can we skip to that part? But yeah, like, just like, well, we're gonna take you in this other room and I'm gonna throw you around a bit. I was like, yeah, good luck with that, because I want to give you a mental picture of this Doctor Sanguine.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if somebody put Tim Conway in a taffy puller.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like, you don't really have the minerals to be throwing me around, dude. Like, are you going to call the male nurse to help you? Because, how's this supposed to work? And so, yeah, they take me into another room, and, we're just sitting there, like, they got the table, and he's like, he's holding me by, like, the back of the head. He's like, all right, lay me down, turn your head to the left. Anything? Anything? No. I'm like, all right, I'll set you back up. And he didn't ask me about that. I was like, yeah, sitting up, that does cause a bit of vertigo. And before I could say that, he lays me back down, turns my head to the right. Anything? Anything? No. And then as he's going to sit me back up, that's when it hits. And I'm just kind of, He didn't fucking notice.
The part that keeps on bothering me is it sounds like you're having positional hypotension. So, I've mentioned that term before. Do you remember what it means?
Not even close.
Positional hypotension means that when you shift how you're positioned, suddenly it causes a dip in your blood pressure. Normally this is due to a issue with the maintained contraction of the arteries, because
it's because I'm fat, isn't it?
Well, so
yes,
the way that it works,
that's what I heard too, Johnny.
Contracts.
All right, Johnny, you screw around with something else again, because I'm getting the. Oh, never mind.
Then the ventricle contracts, then the atrium contracts, then the ventricle contracts. And the way that it works is you get atrial contractions, pump blood to the ventricles, ventricular contractions. One of them pumps it to the rest of the body, one of them pumps it to the other atrium. So, or rather, pumps it through the lungs to eventually end up at the other atrium. You get what I'm saying. But then when you're doing the disystole and systole, or asystole rather, the first beat that you hear is the contraction of the heart, actually pumping the blood into the rest of the body. The second bump that you hear when you're taking BP is what is called arterial contraction. So what happens is, as the blood gets forced out of the heart and hits the arteries expand in order to accept that new volume of blood. This makes sense, right? Prevents them from carrying.
Yeah.
Just expands. But then once it expands, the arteries actually have a muscular sheath around them. So what happens is, in the way that they expand, is closest to the heart expands first, and then the rest of it expands in a wave down from that. And what happens is these smooth muscles, this muscular sheath around the artery, then contracts after it expands. So it expands, allowing it to accept the new blood, but then it squeezes back down, forcing that new blood further down. This is part of what keeps the circulatory system running, because the heart is able to give it some momentum, but it's not able to give enough momentum to keep it running the entire body. So you have this muscular sheath around the arteries that also adds that little extra oomph to it to keep it moving.
Well, Assassin, he does bring up, he asks if they check for crystals in my ear, in my inner ear. They did that hearing test. My hearing was fine. So they said, well, that rules out the middle ear.
Mm-hmm.
And then, this the ENT, he, like I said, he looked up my nose and down my throat, and he checked both ears, and he didn't say anything about crystals, and also he didn't say anything about fluid, which was something that they had told me at my local clinics. Like, well, you got some fluid on the left ear.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that just went away, or if he didn't notice, or he didn't think it was that big of a deal. I don't know.
So fluid on an area can go away fairly quick, because I explained what fluid on something means last time, right?
It's inflammation, yeah.
It's inflammation. It's fluid in the interstitial tissue.
But he didn't say anything about crystals either. But he did, Assassin also mentions that his mom has this problem, and she was taught exercises to move them around to where they don't bother her. He did, after he's sitting there and sit me down, turn my head, sit me up, back down, turn my head the other way. He did show me one. I don't even remember what the technique was named, but this one technique, because he's like, well, it's mostly when you're laying in bed, right? I was like that's how it started. Like he didn't give me a chance to be like, no, it's not just when I'm laying down.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it started. It was just laying on my right side would cause it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it progressed to where it was tilting my head to the right. Then it progressed to where it was, also tilting my head back. And then, sitting up. And then bending over. And so it's really just a crapshoot.
Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming that they've checked your arterial condition, right? Check to see if you have hardening of the arteries and shit like that.
No, they take my blood pressure. That's it. Okay. Have you ever dealt with Indian medicine?
No, I have not, because I'm not an Indian. I'm a white man.
Well, count yourself fucking lucky, sir, because...
And not only am I a white man, but I'm as white of a white man as you can get. I have to damn near worry about moon burns, motherfucker.
Well, I mean, I told you what the first guy did at the beginning of the year, right?
Yes.
Yeah. He sent me home with Robitussin and Aleve.
Yep.
Walk it off, kid. Rub some dirt on it. But no. He showed me this one technique. It's like, well, when you're laying in bed, and this happens, hang your head off the side of the bed, and then roll a quarter turn at a time. So you're laying on your back, with your head off the side of the bed, then you roll to your. I was like, yeah, I know how a quarter turn works, dude.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so he has me, on this table, he has me do this roll, and I sit back up, and it's like, okay, not doing shit.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, what?
Assassin's saying it sounds very similar to what his mom has to do, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's probably what it is, and that it got missed by.
So
again, this is an indictment of the Choctaw medical system. The guy that specializes with the ears missed crystals in the ear.
Yeah, like I said, the things that bother me is it sounds like there's a couple different things that, to me, and again, I'm not a doctor, so grain of salt, all those normal caveats, all those normal, hey, get this shit dealt with properly.
Well, at this point, I trust you and Assassin more than I do these fucking doctors, man.
The two things that jump out at me are positional hypotension, because it's shifting position quickly that causes dizzy spells, correct?
It can. It's not necessarily a guarantee that that's going to cause it.
Yep, but when it comes on, it's after a quick positional change, right?
Sometimes.
It's not every quick positional change causes it, but how often do you get it when it's not after a quick positional change?
The only time that happens, I mean, again, like I said, if I tilt my head, and I'm not like like whiplash tilting or anything like that, like before I got the roof on my house fixed, it would leak a lot when it would rain, and so one day I was just looking up at the ceiling in the kitchen to see if it was leaking because it was raining outside, and then ooh, okay, and that was just barely moving my head up and kind of to the right.
Because the positional hypotension, like I said, is when your blood pressure drops after shifting position too quickly. So you find this a lot with old people. They have poor circulation. When they change their position, it's able to be enough that they get this dizzy spell. And you can also get it with young people, but it tends to be really young people. It tends to be rather old people. And then it happens occasionally in between. Normally there's some underlying circumstance that's causing your body not to be able to respond fast enough.
All right, well, let me ask this question to both you and Assassin, and I figure you'll answer first because, no latency. Does what either one of you are describing also come with headaches? Because I thought it was just sinus pressure on the back of my head.
So positional hypotension can induce headaches. And then the other thing that I was going to mention is an inner ear problem. And inner ear problems absolutely cause headaches.
Because it's just like it just feels like the back of my head, almost where the spine meets the skull. Just a dull kind of throb. Okay, Mom did not mention headaches. Okay. But it could still be inner ear. All right.
Yeah. Inner ear can cause headaches. And I'm trying to remember the type of headache that is... Because it sounds like you're talking about a headache around the foramen magnum, around the hole at the base of the skull, right at the spine.
Yeah, pretty much, more or less. In that general area, yeah.
Yeah. The foramen magnum is the name of that hole. And I'm trying to remember because there's...
And it's just localized to that one particular area, too.
Yeah, there's a specific name for that type of headache that is a headache at that juncture. And I'm trying to remember the name of that specific type of headache.
So, are you starting to understand why I was kind of wishing it was the brain cancer now? At least that way I'd know what the fuck was going on.
So I went to Google headache, and I was going to check to see.
WebMD is going to tell us it's definitely cancer, Johnny. Come on, man.
Well, I know that. That's why I don't use WebMD. I was at the Mayo Clinic, but I typed in headache of the, and I was going to ask which region it was, and this says headache of the pelvis. Is the first.
I think they're very confused.
It's the
no. Somebody's got their head up their ass. That explains a lot.
So they're currently diagnosing Biden? Shit.
Well, I mean, any politician, really.
True.
I don't know.
Politicians, celebrities,
I don't
dumb
know
people.
why Google felt that was a popular search term. Headache of the left side, headache on the right side of head. What was the region you were seeing?
Well, it's the foramen magnum. It's the top of the spine, base of the skull. And one of the ones that I'm seeing is not the term that I was thinking, because it's really fucking basic. It's just saying, oh yeah, this is a spinal headache. Fantastic. I'm pretty sure there's another name for the one that I was thinking.
Well, I guess, I guess I'm just gonna have to dip into my meager savings and go find a real doctor. Be like, hey, I've been having this issue, for the past few months. Had a CT, so they ruled out neurological, issues, brain cancer, all that jazz.
Chiari malformation.
Kind of thinking it's inner ear. Can you give me the once over?
If it's inner ear and it's causing dizziness, then let me quickly look up the proper structure name. Because
It's ear cancer, isn't it?
Because there's two different sections of the inner ear. One's more about hearing, one's more about balance. And I'm almost positive that it's the vestibular region is the balance one, but I want to make sure. So it might be a vestibular disorder, which is an issue of the inner ear. It could be effectively a inflammation of the inner ear, which causes the liquid to be squished, interestingly, and causes problems with balance. It can also create a headache because as your body is dealing with that, it can create some nasty fucking side effects in the head.
What's up, Dr.
Especially. Say again?
Hey, functional.
Oh, hey, functional.
Popped up. I'm just going to go and WebMD it and say it is Chiari malformation.
You looked up the foramen magnum headache, didn't you?
Yep.
Oh, no, I wasn't going to use any technical names, Assassin. I was just going to say, it's like, hey, I've been dealing with the jackasses at the Choctaws, and this is what they've done so far.
Well, you know what I say.
Double check their work and maybe make sure I don't have brain cancer.
Yeah.
You know what I say.
No. What?
Get sooner care and get a real doctor.
But yeah, if it's an inner ear issue, it's most likely an inner ear issue of the vestibular region.
Thank you, Verdam.
Because that's the part of the inner ear that controls balance. And it's
hi,
Keith.
Welcome to Minions of the Zoo. Diagnosing Camel's disease.
Diagnosis KML. Well, there is a question for you in the chat here from Terry for Camel. Do you believe in life after love?
I was never a big Cher fan, so I'd say no.
It depends. Was it true love? Or were you just trying to come back to Blade?
I'm of the opinion, contrary to popular belief, that it wasn't an accident. Sonny steered right into that tree on purpose.
He heard your concept album.
Nice. Okay, so I was able to find the type of headache that I was trying to remember the fucking name of. Because it has two different names for the type of headache that I was trying to remember. It is the cervicogenic headache and the suboccipital headache are the two that I was trying to remember.
Dude, I'm not gonna remember that. I can.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying. I'm not telling you to remember this shit. I was doing this
Take notes
for my own selfishness. Of this shit is driving me crazy. I know that there is a name of it. In fact,
the only reason why I was able to tell you that it
is
was
the
benign. Yeah, the only reason I was able to tell you it's benign proximal positional vertigo is because it's written down in front of me. I just say vertigo.
Yeah.
And I blame Polly. I think he's got some kind of vertigo that's fucking contagious, and I caught it because until I met him, the only time I ever heard anyone referencing Vertigo was talking about the fucking Hitchcock movie. Never actually knew anybody who had it.
Here's one from Tier. What's worse torture? Biden's press secretary or Madonna's douche? Well, that's enough about Guy Ritchie, but I mean...
Like, in what context? I mean...
I think the latter's more intelligent.
I don't know, man. Did you see her singing about fried fish in her bathroom during the lockdowns?
We aren't talking about Madonna herself. We're talking about her douche. I think her douche
It's well
is more...
used. Doesn't necessarily mean it's intelligent.
It's not a high benchmark. We're talking about the current press secretary. She was not hired for her ability.
Well, that's obvious.
And have you listened to anything that she said? Good God. Especially, what was the fucking question that had her have a goddamn stroke in front of everyone this past week?
I don't know. I don't pay that close attention to her or Madonna.
There was a question that... You remember the "Have you ever had a dream, kid" meme?
Are you talking about David after Dennis?
So there's a meme of
Is this real life?
Have you ever had a dream that you could, if you could do anything, you would?
Does anybody else smell toast, or is it just me?
That's what the meme is effectively. It was a kid who was trying to do...
Sydney Watson uses that one.
Yeah. It was the kid in the red shirt who was trying to quote Hercules. And he just absolutely botched the quote. And... It's this quote that's used, or it's this meme that's used constantly, of just this kid stumbling through his sentence. And
Keeve asks, what's the meaning of life?
42.
42, yeah.
I never even read the book, and I know that one.
And what's the question? Well, it depends. If you're asking Arthur Dent, then it is, what, 6 times 9, because he isn't actually human. In fact, none of us are human. We're all descended from a line of middlemen and telephone cleaners that were jettisoned off their planet, which then promptly died out due to a particularly virulent telephone-based disease. But
I mean, wouldn't the question be 6 times... What's 6 times 7?
That was the issue. So if in the Hitchhiker's Guide, or the entirety of Earth was made in order to solve the question, what's the ultimate question? So the world and the life forms that are native to the world were meant to figure out the ultimate question. It turns out that humans aren't actually native to Earth. They're descended from a group of people that were all the middle managers and the seemingly worthless positions, which is why we have so many of them. And they ended up evolving on Earth into modern humans. But because they came from somewhere else, they ended up driving the other races to extinction. So they interbred with some of them, which is why he got 9, because he isn't properly human, so he isn't part of the... Or he isn't properly native to Earth, so he doesn't get the full question, the full ultimate question. He gets a mangled version of it, which was, what is 6 times 9?
Ah, okay.
All right, Camel. Here's the next one. What the fuck is growing on Fetterman's fucking neck?
Guado.
I was gonna say, is like, have you ever seen Total Recall?
Quaid, start the reactor.
It's definitely Guado.
And is there another word for thesaurus?
How the fuck should I know?
I actually don't know. Is there?
I don't have a thesaurus handy to look it up, so I don't know.
I was actually trying to figure out if there is a synonym for a word.
Is there a synonym for synonym?
Well, it becomes a phrase rather than a single word, but equivalent word is the synonymous phrase. But as to...
You know, I've hated that song ever since Forrest Gump.
Which song?
The one that THUR referenced in chat.
Oh, the How Many Roads?
Yeah. Maybe it was just because it was Robin Wright was the one sitting there singing it. But either way, that's like, fuck that song.
So, when you put thesaurus into a thesaurus, several of the words end up being incorrect because it's using a modern usage, which is an incorrect usage of thesaurus, which is dictionary. And
you know what the word of the day is, according to Merriam-Webster's website?
Is it
What?
thesaurus?
No. Vapid.
nice. There is one valid one that I was able to find. Let me see if any of the others are even approaching valid. Nope, that one isn't. And that one isn't. So, there is one valid synonym for thesaurus, as in a work that has similar, or a work that contains words and gives the words of similar meaning, which is a nomenclator. So if you want a synonym for thesaurus, then you must reach for your nomenclator.
Not to be confused with nomenclature.
Yes, not to be confused with nomenclature. A nomenclator is a work that contains lists of words that
Sir,
have
you should be
similar
bopped for
meaning.
that question.
You know what? I live around a bunch of knuckle draggers. Using either of those words is bound to get you punched in the face.
What is the dictionary definition of dictionary definition?
Well, that's a phrase, so you'd have to use a phrase dictionary rather than a standard dictionary.
The big book of alternate words. Perfect.
No. Nomenclator.
You know, I probably should have asked that doctor's like, how long ago would I have needed to get, head trauma? Like, does it have to be something recently? Because, I mean, it's been a long time, but I mean, did get in some scraps back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, I've told you guys about when I was reading research on... You guys remember when there was the theory that Lou Gehrig's disease was caused by concussions, right?
No, I did not know that was a...
So, one of the potential explanations for Lou Gehrig's disease, I'm not sure if it's still
How many times
in
did Lou
vogue,
Gehrig get his ass beat?
but one of the ideas is that Lou Gehrig's disease was ultimately caused by the leaking of CSF, cerebrospinal fluid, into the surrounding tissue, poisoning the nerves and poisoning the muscles. So, in that theory, the more concussions that you had and the more severe your concussions were, the more likely you were to end up with Lou Gehrig's disease. Which is why Lou Gehrig's disease is more common in certain backgrounds than in others. People that played football for an extended period of time, more likely. People that were in combat sports, more likely.
I just got into a bunch of fights as a kid because I was a smartass.
So when I first
I didn't
read
get this
that,
deviated step in the fun way.
when I first read that little bit of research, my response was, "Oh shit! I might have killed someone I might have in the future killed someone my freshman year of high school." Or
Oh shit! I might be a dead man walking.
Rather, it's not that I might have in the future killed someone my freshman year of high school. It is, in the future, someone might have committed suicide on my head my freshman year of high school.
If you gotta go through that many steps, Sanguine, I think you might be reaching for some guilt there.
Oh no, I didn't feel any fucking guilt about it. I just realized that that was a potentiality. If this bit of research, if that hypothesis as to the origin of Lou Gehrig's was valid, there was a person that knocked themselves out on my head. I didn't feel any fucking guilt because I didn't do it. They knocked themselves out. They chose that shit. If it kills them, it kills them. Not my fucking fault that my head was harder.
Well, I mean, one of Sun Tzu's rules is know your enemy.
Yeah, and he sure as fuck did not. Especially since he had every reason to go, okay, this guy's probably not someone that you want to chance your body against, considering this was the same game that someone dislocated their shoulder through their shoulder pads on my knee rather than breaking my knee.
Okay, here's a question. If I don't remember having any head trauma, good or bad?
It means it didn't happen.
It means that you would not be able to know. Like, I've told you guys about my concussion.
Well, it's not like I ever had anything, like, I never got hit to the point where, like, you know, had any kind of nausea or light sensitivity or anything like that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have been hit in the head. You know, it hurt. Went about my day.
The only reason that I know for a fact that I hit my head is because I broke a football helmet.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I was growing up, it was like, you're not bleeding. There's no bones sticking out of skin. You're fine. You know, go play. So, like, I wouldn't know if I had a concussion or not.
But yeah, for me, like I said, the only reason why I know that I hit my head is I broke a football helmet. Because what I remember is being at the front of a drill for one thing, and then I come to at the front of an entirely different drill. And then I feel dizzy. And that was what happened. I don't remember anything in between those two memories. Now, I've been able to piece it together from what other people told me happened to find out that, oh, I hit my head really fucking hard, and somehow I didn't get knocked out, but I got knocked out of consciousness without being unconscious, if that makes sense. I was not actively control of my body. My body just kept on doing things, and I kept on responding to people.
Someone hit the autopilot.
Yeah, I went on to complete fucking autopilot. And the only other bit of evidence that this happened is when I took off my helmet to kneel down after being sent off the field to wait for the trainer. The edges of the crack in my helmet were mushy, and I had a crack that went through the full thickness of the helmet and was about 3 or 4 inches long. So I knew that I had fucking cracked my head in order to break a helmet like that.
Oh, okay. Well, I might have had a concussion at one point then.
Oh, you have a similar thing of you remember one thing, then you remember nothing, then you remember something else, and...
Yeah. Not football related, though.
Skateboarding, biking?
7th or 8th grade? Yeah, junior high track practice.
So I have a picture of Sanguine from high school then.
I was... it was a...
Nice.
It was a... We were doing track practice in the gym because it was a rainy day, and I was doing the high jump, and I would run, from like the right side, and I guess there was a couple of people that they'd run from like the left to jump over the bar, and so they'd move that mat around. And I guess somebody didn't move it back. And so when I went to do my jump, yeah, my head hit the hardwood.
Nice.
And you mentioning the whole like autopilot, it's like, yeah, I remember jumping, and then the next thing I remember is standing in front of the water fountain.
Yep.
So, yeah, might have had a concussion.
Yeah.
It only took me 20 years to realize it.
Yeah. Like I said, apparently I don't go down when I get a concussion. I just go autopilot.
Apparently I do too, because, like, nobody's like, hey, are you okay? Or anything like that. Yeah, just, I realized, like, I was midair, and then I was standing in front of the water fountain.
Yeah, like I said, the only reason that I knew something was wrong was I felt dizzy, and then I found a massive crack in my helmet. Also, because I just found this out, do you remember, were either of you listening in the night that Harry found out that he had a ridiculous amount of money worth of different whiskeys, or rather one specific whiskey, that he found out was like $1,000 plus live on air?
No, but now I'm just sitting here thinking, it's like, oh, wow, I feel like an asshole because, like, that doctor's asking about head trauma. It's like, no,
And now you're going, oh God, yes.
Like maybe he wasn't an idiot.
Now you're gonna have to call that doctor back and go, so Doc.
Nope.
So here's
nope.
that.
Nope. I still got my pride. I'm going to a different doctor.
Here's that thing that Della Hibbs was talking about. I don't know if you guys noticed this at all. I'm not seeing it, but
No, it looks orange to me.
Oh,
are you talking about the names being in different colors?
The weird thing. Yeah.
I noticed that somebody else's chat. I can't remember. Maybe it was like Sitch and Adam or somebody. But no, I'm talking about like where like Skep has tagged Della. Like when I was on my phone, it would come in as just gray, not orange.
But yeah, with what just happened to me was I have another thing going on in one ear and someone mentioned the most expensive whiskey that they had. And I decided to look up what the whiskey that I know is expensive that I have, because it was gifted to me, and it was expensive before it is. And I found out that that specific whiskey runs between $600 and $1,000 currently.
Damn.
Because that specific type of whiskey no longer is sold for some reason. So I have an 18-year bottle of a whiskey. And that particular length of aging for that brand is no longer available. So that bottle has just been skyrocketing in price.
Well, I'm poor, which is why, the rare occasion I do drink, it's like Busch Light in a can.
Yeah.
I don't have any other whiskey that comes anywhere close to that amount of money. The most expensive whiskey that I have other than that is maybe $100. But I just found out that, yeah, that one is somewhere between $6,000 and over $1,000.
See, now I miss my beer bar. Like, years ago when I was working as a crane operator.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little joint, a couple blocks from my house, and they just serve beer, and it was usually bottles or cans, I mean, maybe if you were feeling fancy, they had a couple of taps, but a couple of pool tables, dartboard, jukebox, and I got paid weekly, so I'd go in there, pay my bills, and I'd go in with whatever I had left over Friday night, and maybe if I had anything left over Saturday night. And there was some nights it was literally just me and the bartender.
Nice.
Yeah. So I had free reign over the pool tables. The jukebox was all me.
Sounds like a really comfy night in.
Oh yeah, yeah. And of course, at 10, 11 o'clock roll around, and I'd probably be, 20 to 30 deep, because again, Busch Light in a can, like $2, tops, $40, and I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah, it was PBR for me.
Yeah, that we weren't that fancy, but like 10, 11 o'clock rolls around, like, we're supposed to be open till 2, but I just kind of look around like, come on, dude. Like, I mean, all right, you want to close, that's your business. I'm already at, 2.5 sheets. I mean, when you're sitting there by yourself drinking a 30-pack, I mean, you don't really care.
Well, I do, because I'll still be sober.
Well, genetically predisposed to alcoholism, Sanguine.
Yeah, you're native.
Yeah. Yeah, too much more than that, we're really pushing it.
I have the exact opposite. You have a weakness to alcohol.
Whoa. Calm down now. All right. I'm still walking a straight line.
Don't push the envelope there.
I may be shark-eyed, but I'm still walking a straight line, okay?
That's just experience. There's a fucking difference.
Hey, there is nothing like being part of a high-speed chase that you didn't know you were in when your blood alcohol content is 0.75 or 0.075.
Hey, man. Walking that 2 blocks home from the bar was still risky because I'd go right past City Hall, okay?
That's where all the actual criminals are, yeah.
Well, that's where the cops clock in and out of, too.
Ah.
It's City Hall / police station.
Fair enough. But yeah. I have a genetic tolerance to an absolutely monstrous degree.
Oh, well, I mean, it's been almost a decade now since then, so my tolerance is completely gone. Like
I
trying to
got
think of the last time I even had a beer. You know,
verschnickered off a box of wine over the holiday.
did you bless the trees and the rocks and?
I might as well have. Oh boy.
I can drink glasses of cask strength whiskey and still be fine. And Tyrannus, yes, I am Irish, English, Welsh, and German in my heritage.
So Dayglow White is what he's saying.
Oh, like I said, I have to worry about moonburns. Sunburns are a foregone conclusion. If it's particularly full, bright moon, that might be a bit of a problem for how pale I am. But it means that whiskey's fucking just water.
Well, I remember in college, like me and a buddy of mine, I'm Choctaw, he was Cherokee, and we'd go to house parties and play beer pong, and like we would be drinking liquor before we got there, because you never know how long the beer is going to last. 100+ people crammed into a 2-bedroom house.
Yeah.
So like we're already showing up pretty toasted. And we were definitely smoking weed on top of that too, so just synergistic effects. But like
crossfade going.
Yeah. But we'd be playing beer pong, and like the white kids couldn't get us off the table. It was like that part in Beer Fest where at the end they're like, oh, we're not that drunk. But actually, it's quite the opposite. I don't know about him. I was very drunk. Like it was like I'm shooting, with like one eye open, leaned up against the wall. It's kind of like, eh.
It's like Kevin Bacon and Sir Rebecca. I'm not drunk.
And Tyr, I've only managed to get drunk twice in my life. That's how ridiculous my tolerance is. And it's not for lack of drinking. It's that both times getting drunk, I would have killed over 50% of the population if they had been drinking 1-for-1 with me.
I mean, aside from when I was actually sitting, on a bar stool paying per drink, I never kept track of how much I was drinking. I would just use
I did the calculations afterwards.
Oh, no. I didn't even bother trying to keep track. I would just use the Dean Martin method. Which, for those of you in chat who aren't aware, is a quote attributed to Dean Martin. You're not drunk if you can lay on the floor without holding on.
Nice.
But I added an addendum to that.
Mm-hmm.
It was you're not drunk if you can lay on the floor without holding on while looking up at a moving ceiling fan.
Nice.
But I'm sorry, but I'm starting to fade. So I'm going to have to call it.
That's fair. I've been up for about 21 hours so far, so
all right,
put in a few more before I clock out.
Go with parting thoughts. Sanguine?
I'll leave off with my standard. If you're passionate about something, make sure that you devour it. Don't let it devour you.
And Camel?
For the love of God, hold your liquor.
Let's see.
Nice.
I'll use a Flogging Molly lyric. But it's time I'll take before I begin. 3 sheets to the wind. 3 sheets to the wind.
Nice.
And with that, the zoo is closed. Have a good night, all.
Have a good night.
Bye, everybody.